Hey there, everybody. Welcome to Not Another Crime Podcast.
I am Georgia Love.
I am Sammy Peterson.
I'm a journalist.
I am not. But I'll tell you what I am. A great friend of Georgia Love.
Oh, you are.
Thank you so much for saying that. If you want to skip ahead and just listen to when the show actually starts with the crime.
The show started. The crime story.
The crime story. The time code is in the show notes below. Last week we spoke about this story and it is absolutely fascinating, and we had to do it in two parts because there is just so much. We didn't want you to get overwhelmed about how dense it is.
That's right. So we're going to go into today the second part of the Claremont serial killer. And go into the suspects and the investigation.
Now, G-Love, I've got to tell you a story about recently chatting to someone who was telling me that they love murder mysteries and everything. And they were saying, I love murder mysteries and big fan of them and everything. I was like, oh my God, I got a podcast all about true crime and everything. It's called Not Another Crime Podcast. I'm like, oh, amazing. And they said, I want to listen to it. It was a beautiful woman called Georgia. And I said, well, you're in luck. They will listen to it now. And and they were saying that they once had a murder mystery night and were really excited about it. And them and their boyfriend were at an op shop and they saw a murder mystery box
like those guys. Oh,
you
like
can play at home.
How to host a murder?
Yeah, how to host a murder, something like that. It was called like Slice of Murder or something like that. And it was like one of those boxes where I think it's really cool because I would like to do this at some point. And you basically dress up as the different characters and you get sent who you're playing or whatever. Anyway, so this person was like just sending out different texts to their friendship group going, they're playing this person, they're playing this person.
Oh my God, that's so fun.
Yeah, dress this way and everything. What they didn't know that was because it was an op shop, it was damaged and there was no murderer.
Oh no!
So they said
did
it was the longest game where everyone's looking around wondering who the murderer was, and there was no murderer. The card was missing.
That is such a funny thing to do for the people who put it, like who gave it to the op shop.
Yes,
that is a long practical joke that you'll never actually
see
but you know that's going to happen. That is so good.
So funny. And it reminded me of when I was really little, I loved like writing and creative writing, and I loved like murder mystery stuff. And I made these because I was really obsessed with Monk, the obsessive compulsive detective, who I just thought was amazing and loved how he solved crimes and everything. And after that, there was a whole list of different crime podcasts that came. True crime shows that came out, and the person who was a detective just had something a little bit different about them. Like there was a blind detective, there was a deaf detective,
that medium.
There was so many different shows like that coming out at the time, and I was just like really interested in like writing a true crime thing, going, oh, who was it? This person was here at this time. This person was here at this time. But I would literally just write out people and just kind of go, yeah, it's probably that person that did it, and my brother would go through it and go, but that doesn't make sense.
Why would it be
they were there at that time. Just do all the timings and everything and not really work out.
And that's why you've gone into talking about true crimes, not trying to write your own.
Not trying to write my own true crimes because they didn't make any sense at all.
That's also kind of funny too, though. Write a true crime movie like a Knives Out type movie.
That doesn't make any sense. Just make it not make sense.
Reveal at the end that it was a comedy show all along.
Yeah, gotcha, a beauty. Or just one of those really lazy endings or something where the person just wakes up at the end.
Oh,
it's just like, oh wait, they're asleep the whole time. You go,
oh no,
God damn you!
My English teacher at school, Mr. Gasparino, who is the best. He changed my life. He's amazing. The best teacher I've ever had. But I remember so clearly him saying we went to like a creative writing task.
Yep.
And he said if anyone uses the trope and then I woke up.
Yep.
And I was dead the whole time, you're failing the class.
You're out on your ass.
And all these people were like, well, no, but that's not fair because that can be a really good ending. And he's like, it's not.
It's actually not. It's actually not.
It's the worst writing.
It's the worst one you could do. That's so funny. Hey, G-Love, how's your week been?
My week's been good, actually.
Yeah, actually.
I have actually been home.
Yeah.
Oh, not every night. I had a little staycation in the city, in Melbourne City.
Beautiful.
Tourist at home.
The Melbourne Central Business District.
Michael Jackson, MJ, the musical.
In
Melbourne.
Really good.
Oh, God, it was fantastic.
Yeah.
The dancing was unlike anything I've seen. It was incredible.
It really was. And they really kind of went into it went into Michael Jackson's kind of life throughout different bits and pieces and
like
everything.
flashbacks to when he was a child and in Jackson 5.
And it's a very complicated story to tell. Obviously, there's a lot of very dark things that go on with that story, but the music and the dancing were incredible.
Yeah.
Like, what a talented cast. And also to get people that can, because it's not just a musical about, people who can sing really well. It's like the dancing has to be
and such
so
specific dancing as well.
Yeah, yeah.
The guy playing MJ here in Melbourne is actually from, like, he's come from the Broadway cast.
Oh, right.
Yeah, it's really, really good. And it was your birthday this week as well.
That's right. Had a wonderful, wonderful birthday. Celebrating so many celebrations.
Okay, listener, I tried to do a bit there where we'll just go, because I know this episode's coming out after Sammy's birthday.
Yeah.
Sammy's birthday is actually in 3 days' time.
Yeah.
We know this won't come out till after then, but I think he's just given that away by just weirdly saying just a lot of celebrations.
Wonderful celebrations, probably, most likely.
So we'll tell you next week what actually happened.
I'll tell you about that. But most likely, lots of celebrations. And
Well,
God,
good
it
if
was
not.
wonderful.
Okay, well now it has to be
Had
wonderful.
a really good
so
time.
great.
Yeah,
No
it has
pressure.
to be wonderful.
No pressure.
Hey, I'm really excited about getting into the next part of this story.
I feel like I should tell you a story.
Yeah, you can tell me a story if you
about,
want.
About the murder mystery thing.
Well, if you haven't got a story, don't worry about it. Just
You
trying
can
to
tell
find
when
one.
you see me looking around thinking of
Yeah, just don't worry about it. Let's get into the story this week.
I'll tell you a real life murder mystery,
Great,
and that
great.
is part 2 of the Claremont serial killer.
Wow.
Oh, it's bright.
She's a bright girl, and she gone too far. She knows it don't matter anyway.
Did I finish with... I spoke about how they thought it might have been Peter Falcone's killer.
Yep.
I remember saying that. Criminal profiling, that he'd be a normal person.
Yep.
Is that where we finish?
Yeah, about there. Yeah.
Okay. No, the underwear at the scene. I said that, didn't I?
Mm-hmm.
I reckon we pick up from there again.
Yep.
So I might have done this bit before, but we can decide where to actually cut in. So I'm going to start off with the only other physical evidence that was ever found in this case. So a very quick recap. There were 3 girls who had gone missing, been abducted seemingly by a man, and all 3 of them at different times were walking home on their own, waiting for a taxi on their way home from being out in the
Early in the
suburb of
morning.
Claremont.
Yeah.
Early, overnight.
Yeah, I
hours.
think it could be taxi drivers or someone that was around at that time.
That's right.
Yeah.
One of the girls had never been found. The other 2, their bodies had been found. So in late November 2000, which was 3 years after Kiara's death. So Kiara was the 3rd victim of this person. Kiara's family was actually visiting her gravesite when they made a horrific discovery. A pair of women's underwear with the initials CG, Kiara's initials, written on the tag was left near Kiara's grave at the cemetery. They were tested for DNA and they matched her actual underwear. Police believe that they were in her work bag and that bag had never been recovered. So they thought whoever had killed her was taunting police. 3 years
absolutely taunting
after
them. Yeah.
he's abducted and killed her, he's come to her gravesite and left a pair of her underwear. Isn't that just disgusting? So police set up cameras at her gravesite, but they never saw any other strange goings-on there. And after this, the years continued to roll by with no new evidence and nothing else of note happened.
Wow.
Until 2008.
Okay. It's a long time after 2008.
That's right.
Right.
There had been advances in DNA technology, and scientists at the UK's Forensic Science Service tested the material that they had found under Kiara's fingernails. Remember they'd found what they called debris under her fingernails, that it wasn't human, like it wasn't skin or something. It would be. It was just debris, but they kept it, of course, because it's still evidence.
Right.
Well, new technology tested these again, and they made the crucial discovery of male DNA on a combined sample of 2 of Kiara Glennon's fingernails from her left hand.
Oh, my God.
So even though it wasn't skin, they did find human DNA that was of a male. When the male profile was entered into the DNA database in WA, a match was recorded.
And that means that person is already in the system, isn't it?
It doesn't mean a person came up.
Oh.
The DNA of this person was in the system.
Right.
It had been found, this person's DNA had been found on a 17-year-old girl who, in 1995, was walking home from Club Bayview, Claremont, when she was abducted and taken to Katakana Cemetery, where she was raped. A man grabbed her from behind, threw her into a van, and bound her wrists and ankles. They put a sock into her mouth and a bag over her head before this man then carried her into the cemetery and assaulted her several times. He left her in the cemetery naked from the waist down, but she was alive. And eventually she was able to get herself free and go and find help. DNA on her from this man was found under Kiara's fingernails.
Wow.
But the name of this person wasn't in the database.
Okay, sure.
So they've got DNA now from 2 crime scenes of the same person.
Right.
But this person isn't in the database.
Oh, God.
Which means, do you remember from part 1 of this story, the main suspect was a man named Lance Williams.
Yes, yeah.
He was in the system, so it wasn't his DNA.
Wow.
So finally in 2008, he was cleared.
And Claremont is quite, it's a small place. I imagine that his life would have been hell at that time.
Absolute hell.
Yeah.
And this is explored a lot. There's a really great TV movie, like telemovie that was made about this Claremont serial killer.
Yeah.
And I've got written at the end of here what it's called. It had Kate Ritchie in it.
Oh, I remember.
It was really
seeing,
good.
Yeah.
They focus a lot on him, on Lance Williams in this, and what it was like for him being not just a suspect, but publicly believed to be the murderer.
Horrific.
For so many years, until 2008.
Do you know if he ended up moving away or anything, or kind of stayed? No, I should be asking these questions. You don't know the answer.
If I do know that, I've written it at the end because I've done a little summary.
God, you're good.
Thank you. I'm not good enough to remember it though.
Hey, but you're good at other things.
Writing it. But still, police had a link. There is now evidence to match whoever this offender is to an offender for another crime in 1995.
Wow.
But again, there was no one in the database, so all they could do then was hope one day
this person
wow. Pinged. In 2014, so another 6 years later, scientists working on this case of the Claremont serial killer made another discovery. This is with kind of new technology coming about and retesting things.
Did you say 2014?
Yeah.
Yeah, wow, okay.
Yeah. Yep. Testing of fibres found on Jane Rimmer's body. So that was the first body found, believed to be the second victim.
Yeah, and this was when the rooster was running across the road and found Jane.
Yes. They found fibres on her body, obviously at the time. These were retested in 2014, and they found that they were consistent with a VS Series 1 Holden Commodore.
Oh, okay.
So fibres found on her
Yep.
match this type of car.
Wow. That's incredible that they can find that out.
Isn't it amazing?
Yeah.
And that car matched exactly one of the witness testimonies from when she went missing.
The light coloured car that they saw.
Exactly, saying it was definitely a VS Series 1 Holden Commodore, one of the witnesses said.
And like I said in a previous episode with James Clement, that was also about Eric Edgar Cook, which took place in WA. If they fingerprinted babies at birth, we would never have these problems.
And that's why we have applied to have those laws changed in WA.
We don't know how to do that.
We have applied to have babies fingerprinted.
WA.
Yeah, just there.
Trial and error.
Trial, because so they can go on trial.
Thank you for saying that.
All right, so Jane Rimmer's body had definitely been a Series 1 VS Holden Commodore. So this narrowed who they may be looking for if or when they got a DNA ping it was if this person had driven this car in the late 90s, that was further evidence that would point towards them. In 2016, so it's still going. This is going for years. This is now 20 years after Sarah Spears.
Yeah.
So that's now 20 years after Sarah Spears went missing. That was 1996. Now we're talking about 2016. They're still actively investigating this. They're not going to let this person go. They're not going to let these families you have to go through life without giving them some answer.
With answer, yeah.
There was a review into the cold cases of the Claremont serial killer to see if they could turn up any new evidence or if this mystery DNA could actually be linked to any other crimes. So like we said in the last episode, a case is never actually a cold case is never closed. There'll be task force that really are actively looking into it. Mm-hmm. The task force might be expanded or diminished based on what kind of other resources they've got at the time. In 2016, they were like, right, we're reopening a review into this. We're going to kind of go back through everything with a fine-tooth comb and see if now it's been 20 years, what new things might be able to come up with technology advances.
There's so many cold cases as well. It'd be horrible to look at all the ones that, haven't been – there's no progression because nothing, there's no new evidence.
So in 2016, everything from the case of the 3 cases was retested and something did come up.
Oh, wow.
The DNA under Kiara's fingernail, which was also the DNA linked to the Katakana Cemetery attack in 1995, was matched to someone else again.
Wow.
Someone who was attacked in 1988.
Okay, wow.
So for whatever reason, this wasn't linked back when in 2014 when they made that discovery link. It wasn't linked to this case back then, but in 2016 when the review was undertaken, it did. So this case was on February 14, an awful Valentine's Day story, an 18-year-old girl from Huntingdale, which is in Perth, but it's not near Claremont.
Oh, okay.
She was attacked in her bed as she slept.
Oh. Awful.
The offender shoved material into her mouth and attacked her. Police found a kimono at the scene, like a robe.
Yeah.
That didn't belong to anyone in the house. The attacker had snuck into the house as her parents slept. He'd closed their door and unplugged the phones so there could be no disturbances. The girl who was attacked saw a man in the doorway of her room wearing what she'd said at the time looked like a woman's nightgown.
Okay.
Which is now thought to have been the kimono that was found there.
Yeah.
It ended up belonging to a neighbour and had been stolen from this neighbour's washing line.
Wow.
So it was like this person had kind of crept and prowled through backyards, found this kimono on the line, put it on and went into this 18-year-old girl's house. Yeah, isn't it crazy?
It's horrifying.
DNA on the kimono, a stain found on the kimono, which you can imagine what kind of stain that was, matched these 2 other cases.
Oh, wow. So they've got this DNA that's right there. They just can't link it.
It's now been linked to 3 crimes in Perth, but still no identity as to whose DNA it was. So the review in 2016 went, right, there's now a 3rd crime. Those 2 crimes, the Katakana Cemetery and the Huntingdale attack in the bed, they were never solved either. So rather than focusing on the Claremont killings and reinvestigating them, if we reinvestigate these old things, what if we can find out who that person was, then that will link us back.
Sure.
Really clever, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thinking.
Great way to think, to go, let's target those.
Okay, let's look back
We're
at
a dead end
We've
here.
been for 20 years trying to find this killer. At very least Kiara's, because we've got his DNA on her. Well, why don't we go right back to 1988 and try to solve that again now with all the advances in technology we've got. So they did so, and I'll go back into the case of what happened then. 8 homes in 1988 from around this area in Perth had reported prowling incidents. Stolen laundry from clotheslines at the back of people's houses. A man had come inside and rifled through drawers. One person was attacked, and this person said her attacker was wearing a women's nightgown, which is the young woman we just heard about. One of the homes had a sliding glass door. back in 1988, police had taken evidence from this sliding door and got 4 different fingerprints that at the time they couldn't match.
Right, okay.
So in 2016, police went, aha, right. There were fingerprints that weren't in the system then. Mm-hmm. Let's run them through the system now.
Yes,
and see if we've got these fingerprints. Almost 30 years after these 8 prowling incidents and the assault, police entered the prints back into the system and got a hit.
Wow.
They matched a man who had been convicted of an assault in 1990. His name was Bradley Robert Edwards.
Bradley Robert Edwards. Okay.
Bradley Edwards was a Telstra worker. So Telstra is one of our telecommunication services here in Australia. In 1990, when this assault he was convicted of, he was 21 years old. He had been fixing phones at a hospital called Hollywood Hospital when he attacked a 40-year-old woman working there. He grabbed her from behind, shoved fabric in her mouth, and dragged her away from her desk to the bathroom.
Oh, my God.
It seemed completely opportunistic. So he was there like working on the phone lines, saw this woman sitting there by herself and went, I'm going to make the most of this situation. The victim spoke to media at the time, and she said she was trying desperately not to breathe because she thought he had laced the fabric that he'd put in her mouth with something. Then midway through the attack, the man, who turned out to be this Bradley Robert Edwards, suddenly stopped, apologised for what he was doing, and ran away.
Apologised for what he was doing and ran away?
Yep.
That's bizarre.
In the middle of the attack. Isn't that creepy?
Yeah,
thank God he stopped and ran away, but something came over him where he went, oh my God,
he snapped out of a moment.
Snapped out of it.
Wow.
This hospital worker said she was fighting for her life 1 minute, and the next he was apologising to her over and over.
How bizarre. And he's so young as well, like
21.
Wow.
So he was caught. He was she knew that it was the guy working on the phone lines in the hospital. So he was caught. He was charged with assault and he was given 2 years probation.
2 years probation, that's it?
Yep. His fingerprints were entered into the system, of course, because he was convicted. But at the time, he wasn't connected to the prowling incidents that had happened 2 years earlier.
Yeah.
So his prints weren't in the system until after the prowling incidents had been investigated.
Oh, sure. Okay, right.
Now, it's unclear why they weren't run through the system periodically after that, given they hadn't caught a suspect in the prowling incidents. But for whatever reason, that just seems like one of those missed things, they weren't.
Yeah,
So prowling incidents were in 1988, ran the fingerprints through the system, nothing came up. 2 years later, this guy's convicted of an assault. And when they took his fingerprints, I guess they don't go, oh, let's see if he's done anything, if they ping with anything else. They just didn't do that.
No.
And then they weren't tested again until 2016.
It is such a long time after that. It's just wild.
So Bradley Edwards had never had any trouble with the law since this 1990 attack. When they finally did ping these fingerprints in 2016, he came up as a suspect in the Claremont killings because the fingerprints were linked back to the 1988 prowling incidents, which was that attack, which had had the same DNA found on her and on the kimono as was under Kiara Glennon's fingernails.
Yeah, sure.
Can you even? I feel a bit goosebumpy. Imagine what those detectives felt.
Just everything pinging at once.
That's why I said at the start, I think, of the first episode of part 1, it was really good old-fashioned detective work.
Yes.
I mean, there have obviously been things that have been missed, like these fingerprints and stuff that was done back in the day. But for detectives in 2016 to go, right, let's take it way back, investigate this 1988.
Think about it in a different way.
Yeah, like 27 years or whatever it is earlier. Let's go and investigate that. It's just, I find that just incredible.
Yeah.
All right, so police started covert surveillance on Bradley Robert Edwards. He was a totally ordinary man, a devoted stepdad, a loyal employee. He was 51 years old and he had been a Telstra technician his entire career.
Oh, that whole time?
That whole
so like
time.
30-something years later, he's still there.
Still works for Telstra. He lived a seemingly uneventful life in suburban Perth with his wife and stepdaughter. He regularly volunteered in his community, played Masters football, coached a kids' football team, and was an avid West Coast Eagles fan. He would not be happy with how the 2025 season went for the Weagles.
The Weagles?
West Coast Eagles.
That's what you call them.
Weagles. Come on.
Different
Watch
than
some
the
football
Wiggles.
for once in your life.
They're the Timu Wiggles.
Yeah, exactly.
The Weagles.
Exactly. Bradley had been a telco worker his whole life. He was married to his first wife when he was just 20 years old.
Mm-hmm.
They divorced in 1996. Remember that year?
Yeah.
He met his second wife in 1997, who he was still with today, as in 2016. Yep. So police wanted DNA on this man, but they would have to get it by stealth. They certainly had nowhere near enough information for an arrest warrant. So when they were running covert surveillance on this guy, they saw him one night go to the movies with his stepdaughter. And he came out of the movies, he was holding a bottle of Sprite and he chucked it in the bin. They went and grabbed this bottle of Sprite and tested the DNA. The DNA matched all of the evidence logged in the system for the Claremont attacks.
Oh, my God. One Sprite bottle.
Mm-hmm.
That's incredible.
This proved Bradley Edwards was the serial predator they had been looking for, not since 1996, but in fact since 1988.
Wow. And little would he know one Sprite bottle in the bin would be his undoing. Mm-hmm. Wow.
I mean, also the horrible crimes he did would one day undo him as well, but that's what it took in the end. I feel goosebumpy. I know this story. I've written this script. I feel goosebumpy. Like, I can't imagine what it would have felt like for those detectives, like the elation of going, oh, my God. And found this guy.
Yeah, we've been looking for him for so long. In a case like that, like getting a piece of rubbish from a bin is fine.
Yeah, it's public
property. Yeah, it's public property. Yeah, right.
Public property is the right term. But you can go and take a Sprite bottle out of a bin if you like. Yeah.
I will. Thank you.
You're welcome. Maybe don't drink from it.
Okay, sure.
Yeah, they can because it's in a public place.
Okay.
I don't know the laws around like then using that in a court case. Yeah, I don't know actually. Yeah. But I mean that's how they found his DNA.
Yeah,
I suppose then that was to make them go, okay, yes, this is the guy we've been looking for. So now let's try to find concrete evidence.
Yes.
Rather than going, oh, we're wasting our time looking at
this
guy.
person.
It might be enough to get them an arrest warrant and then, oh yeah, that's probably it. And then be able to take his DNA while he's under arrest.
Yeah. I'm sure the police know what they're doing. Sorry
I've just done an I reckon as well. I've gone, I reckon it's this. Yeah, that's what they did. That's what they did.
Yeah.
On December 22nd, 2016, Bradley Edwards was arrested at his home and charged with the 3 murders of Sarah Spears, Jane Rimmer and Kiara Glennon, as well as the attacks at Katakana Cemetery and 1988 when he had been just 19 years old.
19 years old. Mm-hmm. And their families would think this was never going to be solved at this point.
Absolutely. They would have so much hope, I'm sure, but maybe some of them would have given up hope as well.
Sure, yeah.
Police raided his home in December 2016 and found half-written rape fantasy stories.
Oh, wow.
Computer files filled with extreme pornography, homemade sex toys. Oh, no, this is more... Sandwich bags filled with, I'm just going to use the term bodily fluids, and tied up with women's scrunchies, and women's lingerie with holes cut out. Wow. One of his rape fantasies was titled Chloe, and it had been edited just days before his arrest. It detailed a woman being abducted, bound, gagged and raped in a strikingly similar manner to one of his actual victims.
Oh, wow.
So that goes to show that even though it's 30 years on, he's fixated on this stuff. At the very least having these fantasies. Yeah. Still, he was totally shocked when he was arrested and claimed to have no knowledge of nor links to any of the murders.
Oh, my God.
After his arrest, he said he just wanted to go to sleep and wake up and realise this had all been a terrible dream. He was going to be sent to trial And the prosecution requested he have a judge-only trial because of the incredibly high public profile of this case.
Yeah.
And the fact that there'd been a huge amount of really disturbing evidence. The prosecution actually argued, we don't think a jury should need to sit through all of this.
Right.
There's incredibly disturbing evidence in all 5 of because there's the 2 assaults and 3 murders.
Yeah.
And they actually said, I don't think it's fair to put a jury through all of that.
Wow, yeah.
And that with the high profile nature of the case as well was, kind of a double up in saying we think it should only be a judge that hears this. And this was allowed. So his trial was just in front of a judge only, not a jury.
Right, okay. That'd be quite uncommon as well.
Very uncommon. There was actually talk that Aaron Patterson, the mushroom murderer, was going to have a judge-only trial because of the very high-profile nature of that case as well. So it in very high-profile circumstances, they often ask for that. I don't think they actually did end up requesting it in the Aaron Patterson one, but I know there was a lot of talk early on that they may have, but in this one they did. It just avoids the avenue for appeal for the defence to say, well, these 12 people in the jury weren't unbiased.
Yes.
They can't have been. This has been highly publicised for 30 years, 20 years for the murders, but these old ones are 30 years ago as well. Highly publicised for decades. These 12 people cannot have never heard of it and not had their own opinions.
Yeah, okay, sure.
So I agree with why it should have been judge only, and obviously so did the judge. In October 2019, by the time it actually, all went around to trial, Bradley Edwards pleaded guilty to assault, deprivation of liberty, and unlawful detention of the 18-year-old girl in 1988 and the 17-year-old girl in 1995. So he pleaded guilty to both of those assaults. Then that was dealt with before. Because of a guilty plea for 2 things, they dealt with that on its own and then moved on to the murders. Those he pleaded not guilty to.
Right.
In November 2019, his trial into the 3 murders began. So 1996 was the first, and November 2019, the first time someone was actually on trial for these murders finally began. Okay, so a few things that came out during the trial. Bradley Edwards drove multiple Telstra cars over his career.
Yep.
One of them was a Holden Commodore VS Series 1.
Wow.
Fibres found in under both Kiara. Sorry, we spoke about Jane Rimmer's body having fibres from this car. They then actually found that fibres in Kiara's hair were also consistent with both colour and fabric of the Telstra uniform at the time they were killed.
Right.
So what Telstra workers were wearing at the time, fibres
from that uniform
were on Kiara and Jane. Also on the body of the girl attacked at the cemetery, to which he'd pleaded guilty to.
Yes, okay.
It's worth noting that it was the same colour as the Telstra uniform. It wasn't an actual exact match, that it was definitely from a Telstra uniform, but it matched. It was consistent with the Telstra uniform of the time.
Okay.
One witness had testified that she had been attacked by a Telstra worker in a white van in 1995.
Oh, wow.
A year before Sarah Spears was killed.
Wow.
She had been at the Albion Hotel in Cottesloe, which is not far from Claremont. And remember, 2 of the girls had been at Cottesloe first before going to Claremont as well. This girl had fought with her boyfriend that night and walked off down Stirling Highway. A van pulled up and offered her a lift, a Telstra van, and she had accepted. She asked what he was doing out late, and he said he was out picking up damsels in distress like yourself. When they got to where she was headed, he got out of the car and tried kissing her. She said she told him, I have a blue belt in Taekwondo, so don't try anything with me. And he got back into the van and left. Now, we don't know if she actually did have a blue belt in Taekwondo, if that was just a really clever thing to say. But I think it's probably likely to be true, because otherwise he'd say black belt, wouldn't he?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Yeah, so he tried to kiss her and she said, don't fucking try anything, mate. I've got a blue belt in Taekwondo. Yeah. He got back into his Telstra van and drove off.
Was that reported at the time, or she came 4 years later and said that?
I don't know, actually. But she, she has said it at some point enough that she actually testified as a witness in the trial,
Yeah,
in his
wow.
in the murder trials. Another woman gave evidence in the trial that in 1996 she was walking from the Bayview Hotel in Claremont, and a white Toyota Camry, which is another one of Bradley's Telstra cars he owned. Sorry,
Yep.
I'm not saying this car specifically
The
was,
work
but
car.
he drove a white Camry at one point as a Telstra worker as well.
Yep.
She said this Camry pulled up beside her and the driver stared at her for a while before taking off. So there were lots of people coming forward and saying this, and they were all cars that matched what he had been driving at the time.
Yeah.
Another person said that just before Christmas in 1996, she had been out for drinks at the Ocean Beach Hotel, so it's all the same venues, when she spotted a Holden Commodore with a Telstra logo doing laps. When she and her friends left the hotel on foot later, she saw the same car again, but only saw it from behind and thought it was a cab.
Right, okay.
So much so, she stepped out onto the road to hail it before realising it wasn't a cab, it was actually a Telstra van.
Yeah.
It drove past twice again when they were waiting for an actual cab. So
Wow.
this was kind of goes to show that it looked a lot like a taxi.
Yeah.
Other people gave evidence saying we thought it was I remember seeing this car, we thought it was
Yeah.
a taxi. So the three girls who'd gone missing, certainly at least one of them there's quite a lot of evidence that she was intoxicated. They'd all been out drinking. It's kind of, putting that line out there that they very much could have thought it was a taxi.
And the Telstra logo is a T as well. Like that's the
Exactly.
it would look like a
And,
taxi.
I've actually written this here. Telstra, when it was Telecom, which what it was in the 90s, the logo was an orange circle with a white T.
Yes.
Now, the
yeah.
Swans Taxis logo, which is the Perth taxis, is a blue swan with orange on it.
Right, okay.
So in the dark, if you're a bit intoxicated, they could look the same.
Yeah. Wild as well that he was driving around in his work vehicle. That is
Well,
so...
I suppose that is a way to not stand out, maybe. Like
Yeah.
a Telstra worker would be going out to fix phone lines, to do
Right.
work on the phone booth. I don't know.
Yeah, that's true.
I suppose
Yeah.
that's what he had access to as well, right?
Yeah.
So there were multiple witnesses that gave evidence at the trial saying they had seen a Telstra van and Telstra cars doing laps of Claremont and Cottesloe around that time. A lot. Once someone got into the telecom car and didn't realise until down the road it wasn't a taxi and actually made him stop so this person could get out.
How awful.
And then imagine being that person giving that witness testimony and going, that
Got
could
away.
have been me.
Yeah.
This, of course, all seemed way too big a coincidence, right? Witnesses hadn't testified as to seeing Bradley Edwards himself, but there were dozens of witnesses who said they saw a white vehicle matching some of that Bradley had owned
Yep.
with a Telstra logo, often in the area, casing the place and offering lifts to young women. I've written offering leftists to
That's
young
fun.
women.
That's
which
fun
is
as well.
good. I'm not sure that's what I meant.
Leftists.
Yeah, yes.
They're people that don't like left-handed people.
Correct.
You leftist.
Yeah, goddamn leftist. One of Bradley Edwards' former co-workers at Telstra, of course, said that in those days every single Telstra employee was issued identical brown hound. That's why is that hard to say?
Brand hound? What are you trying to say there?
That's not what I'm
It's a Stiggs. It's a brown hound.
hound.
Hey, brown hound. He's having a sleep.
Brown-handled pocket knives.
Brown-handled pocket knives.
Yeah,
Yep.
pocket knife with a brown
And the
handle.
pocket knife that was found.
Uh-huh.
Ah.
And this former co-worker said he vividly remembers Bradley Edwards losing his pocket knife and they wouldn't reissue it because you're given one.
Wow.
So that's why he remembers that Edwards had lost his.
Wow.
And I've written here, which you've already remembered, there was one of these found near Jane.
Communications one.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Found near Jane Rimmer's body.
Oh, wow.
Now, it wasn't proven that this was his. There were no fingerprints on it, but it is very strong circumstantial evidence.
Absolutely.
On the public holiday in 1996, the day that Sarah Spears went missing,
Yep.
Bradley Edwards was 28 years old. He went to his first wife's parents' house to try to convince her to go and see the fireworks that night. They had separated. He didn't want to be separated. He had gone around and said, come and watch the fireworks with me. And she had refused and they'd had a huge fight. It's worth noting they had split because she had had an affair and fallen pregnant to the other man.
Okay.
and I'm just giving you the timing and seeing what links you draw yourself, that night that Sarah Spears went missing, he had a huge fight with his former wife.
Yeah.
He met his second wife on April 1, 1997, 17 days after Kiara Glennon's murder. This wife had become estranged by the time of his arrest. So kind of giving you a bit of a timeline there of saying like
when he was his most active in this. Yeah,
when he wasn't married. It seemed that this second wife had been suspicious of her husband Edwards for a while. She'd even gone back and looked at old bank statements, but couldn't for the life of her find one for the month of Kiara's murder. His wife, this second wife, gave evidence at his trial. She said she had been suspicious of him for a while. He'd started saying and doing things that she found unsettling, and she herself started getting suspicious about whether he might have been involved in some crimes back in that day.
Okay.
She went back to look for, look through bank statements and things to see if she could find an alibi or connect something. She couldn't find, for the life of her, any bank statements at all from around the times of the murders.
Okay.
So prosecutors in his trial laid out the similarities in these so-called triggers for each of the murders, and this became a big part of the trial, a big part of the case. For Sarah, prosecutors argued that the trigger was that he had been turned down by his estranged wife on his invitation to see the fireworks. When Jane was killed, that's when his wife was that's when he'd found out his wife was pregnant with someone else's child.
Right.
For Kiara, he and his wife were finalising the sale of their home. Even the hospital worker that was attacked back in 1990 had a trigger. The night before that happened, Edward's girlfriend at the time had admitted to being unfaithful. So prosecutors and police looking into this went,
looking at timeline
all of the crimes, something has happened the day before or the day of that has really pissed him off. So they've looked in this and gone, that's evidence. That is circumstantial evidence.
Yep.
He's broken up with his wife. They've had a huge fight.
He's really
Sarah
angry.
Spears has gone missing that night. His wife says, hey, you know how I left you because I had an affair? I'm actually pregnant to that guy. Jane Rimmer is murdered. The house sale from that, leaving that first wife, the house sold, that sale went through. Kiara Glennon was murdered.
Yeah, wow.
What also came up through the trial is that it was possible that Bradley and Jane Rimmer, the second victim of the murder victim, may have actually known each other.
Right.
Friends of hers said she spoke of a guy she knew called Bogsy and that she'd been planning to see Bogsy that night that she went missing.
Right.
No one knew who Bogsy was. And in their investigations, police went back and found out that Bradley Edwards' nickname at high school was Bogsy.
Right.
He was even known by that nickname in his high school yearbook.
Wow. Right? And was this the one that was seen on the security camera with the changing?
Chatting, exactly.
Yep.
Chatting to a guy that she seems really happy to see, smiling and making jokes and stuff.
Right.
So again, very strong circumstantial evidence.
Absolutely.
Very. I've written that here. She was the one that decided not to get a cab, stay and see a friend and was seen on the camera.
Yep.
The victims of the victim survivors of the Huntingdale attack in 1988 and the cemetery attack in 1995 both gave evidence as kind of witness testimony, victim impact statements against him at the murder trials.
Right.
The victim survivor in the Huntingdale attack told the trial that Bradley Edwards was the monster of her nightmares. The girl who was attacked in the cemetery called him pathetic because he preyed on weak, vulnerable women who didn't stand a chance.
Yeah.
She said, something can break you, but you can still survive it and you can thrive as I have. Isn't that amazing?
What an amazing thing to say. How strong.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
During the trial, Edwards shoved a pencil into his own ear.
What?
So he had to be rushed to hospital.
Ugh.
This didn't delay it long though. Like, what, do I think they'd fucking drop the charges because he had to be rushed to hospital?
Take it out, take the pencil out.
Yeah, and go back to it.
Get back to it.
it didn't delay the trial long enough, certainly, for what he was attempting to do. On September 24.
My birthday.
In 2020.
My birthday. Every year, sorry.
Every year. I think it's every year. Yep. After 200 witnesses and 85 days of testimony, Judge Stephen Hall, not the actor,
not the comedian
Stephen Hall, Judge Stephen Hall found Bradley Robert Edwards guilty of the murders of Jane Rimmer and Kiara Glennon, but found there was not enough evidence to find him guilty of Sarah Spears' murder. However, the judge said, I'm finding that it was likely.
It's very likely. Yeah, okay. Wow.
But because her body was never found, it was only circumstantial evidence, whereas they had DNA for the other two girls as well.
And I'm guessing you're probably going to say this anyway, but I'm guessing that her body was never found.
Never. No, it's never been found. And that is the character Kate Ritchie plays in the teleseries is Sarah Spears' mother. Because there is so much that is devastating about this case. And I think, to me, the most devastating part is for Sarah Spears' parents to not be able to have
that closure.
I hope that they do have closure in knowing that it was him. You know, like that the judge even said, yes, it is likely to be him. I just can't find him guilty. They certainly don't have the justice.
Yeah.
And I don't know what that means. I should have looked into this. I apologise that I didn't. I wonder what that means in terms of like victims of crime compensation.
If they could actually claim something and
God, not that that helps anything, just to, get a payout. Edwards was sentenced to life with 40 years non-parole. So the shortest amount of time he will ever be in prison is 40 years.
And he was 51 at the time,
Yeah.
Yep.
That was the longest sentence ever handed down in WA. The court applauded when the sentence was read out. As he handed down the sentence, Judge Hall said, I recognise there is a high likelihood you will die in prison. So he will be in his 90s when it hits 40 years. Bradley Edwards seemed unfazed by the sentence. He still this day refuses to say anything about any of the crimes and refuses to open up about Sarah Spears.
What a monster.
Authorities have vowed they won't ever stop looking for her remains and closure for her family.
Wow.
So I've written here a bit about the effect on the people who were deemed suspects.
Yeah.
So the effect on Lance Williams, the man that was very widely thought to have been the Claremont serial killer for years and years and years. In 2016, his parents went on TV and described the devastating impact the intense police scrutiny had had on the whole family. At the time, Mr. Williams' mother, who had asked not to be named, said that he was deeply affected by what happened. She said he still suffers from deep, strong anxiety. He used to be in a terrible state. Even up until a few years ago, he thought people were still following him around the place.
Of course,
so this is she's saying this in 2016. He was cleared in 2008.
He's always looking over his shoulder, seeing or looking at people, whether or not they're looking at him in a certain way. You kind of think they were,
She said they were sitting outside sitting outside our house for years, watching everywhere he went. And by they, that means police and members of the media.
Yeah.
She said their house was raided 3 times, their back patio was dug up, and their house was bugged. A quote again from her, we knew he had nothing to do with it because he was home with us on certain nights when these things happened, yet we were still treated like this for so many years. Lance Edwards died of cancer in 2018, age 61.
Oh, wow.
What a horrible life for that man to have led.
Absolutely,
no fault of his own. The mayor, Peter Wagers, remember
he was looked into.
He's now 80 years old, and he says despite being the mayor of Claremont for 12 years, the president of the Council for Civil Liberties in Western Australia for 30 years, and working as a senior school psychologist, he will instead only ever be remembered as the man who was branded a suspected serial killer. The coverage put my family's lives in danger, he said. They all lived in fear of vigilantes. People shouted at me in the street, calling me a murderer and threatening to harm my family. Even something as mundane as going to the supermarket where people stared, pointed and whispered made me physically ill.
Yeah.
I had a severed cat head left in my letterbox one time.
Oh, my God. What's the connection there?
Just
Bizarre.
someone. No, just someone.
disgusting.
Just a disgusting thing to do, to be threatening to him. I'd spent most of my life in Claremont, but I'm now unable to spend any time there due to the trauma of public humiliation I experienced during my time as a servant of the very town I loved. And this is the thing, right? I spoke about, what incredible detective work was done to find Bradley Edwards in the end, and it was. There was a lot of police work done, probably, this is my take on it, quite poorly in the early days. I think publicly naming suspects when you don't have strong enough evidence on them.
That's nuts to do that.
And we have the benefit of hindsight. We can say that now because we know he didn't do it.
Yeah.
But they can't have had enough evidence on him because they never arrested him. They never charged him.
You can't have casualties in the way of that. It's wild to name people and go. It's a small place as well. That's horrible
and
to do that.
such high profile cases, right? So I wanted to speak about those parts as well because they are victims of this whole case in their own way as well.
Yep. And, the mayor acted very strangely, in that process, but it doesn't mean that he's guilty.
Also, he was the president of the Council for Civil Liberties. So he had a strong belief in people maintaining their
justice
civil liberties. And I've just written here at the end, there is that brilliant, I really enjoyed the miniseries that came out in 2023 on Channel 7. So I think it is available on the Channel 7 streaming app.
7
and there is
Plus.
a really brilliant book that I've listened to the author and journalist on a couple of podcasts talking about this and read parts of the book, which is a really brilliant book called Stalking Claremont by author and journalist Brett Christian. If anyone would like to go and read more about this and find more, it is one of those stories that everyone in Australia knows about, the Claremont serial killer in Perth. It's very, very well known. But it is absolutely wild that it was the first of his crimes that we know of was in 1988. The first of his murders, he was found not guilty of Sarah Spear's murder, but first of the murders he was charged with was in 1996, and it was 2020 that he was found guilty.
That is
and remember
so wild.
the criminal profiling that was done. They said he's going to be a normal person. He's going to be someone's colleague. Everyone will be shocked to find out it was him. Yeah, he was a devoted, doting, loving stepfather. He coached the footy team. He played footy. He was
just a normal guy,
quote unquote normal guy,
living a pretty normal life apart from the deep secrets that he had and what he was still kind of actively. We don't know if he's actually doing
but
it.
Writing those
writing
rape fantasies
stuff.
and stuff. And it's so interesting, the prosecution case as well, about the triggers that he had, because it seemed like when he was married, he was happily married and he didn't commit any murders then. Those 3 murders were all between him, the first wife leaving him, and him meeting his second wife.
He was doted, as you said.
Yeah, I did just say doted.
So that is so wild that it would be a trigger that would cause that. It was kind of like he snapped into this violent, angry person.
Just can't be alone. It was so angry that he didn't have a wife at home.
How disgusting.
Went out and murdered innocent young victims.
Oh, how awful. I can't believe, that is, it is, really, you always hear, I didn't know the details of it, but you always do hear about the Claremont case.
Yeah.
And I think there is a documentary about
I'm sure
it as well. I know there's definitely one that they did in Perth during the COVID times, I think, as well, about Eric Edgar Cook, which is really fascinating as well. So Perth is just such an interesting place in general. Western Australia is so isolated, so it is such an interesting thing to hear about it. And obviously, we talk about the personalities and everything. People in Perth know, so much about the history
this case took over their city for 20 years.
Yeah.
People weren't going out in Claremont even during the day around the times the murders had actually happened because
terrified.
You couldn't, it was too scary to be there.
And
20 years on, whoever the man was, as they thought at that time, we don't know who it was, they're still around, they're still out there. No one's been caught. I just think it is incredible police work in terms of it's incredible police dedication to just continue to go, we are not letting this go, we're going to solve this. And I just think that's really amazing. And if anyone listening out there has murdered anyone and think that the police have forgotten and you'll be safe, just you wait. Actually, someone the other day was arrested for over I can't remember how old it was, but a murder in South Australia.
Oh, really?
A cold case in South Australia.
And they were just found?
Yeah, the man was arrested 2 days ago.
Oh,
Yeah.
my God.
And the police officer said in his press conference, he said, you know, we never, these cold cases are never closed. We are always looking.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, so my best advice today, and something I will leave you with, dear listeners, is don't murder.
Don't murder. No, and
Don't
we
do
shouldn't
it.
have to say that. Don't murder.
But it's good to say it.
Yes,
Because
absolutely.
then we can feel better about ourselves that we know we've put that out there.
Yeah, and I've never murdered.
Haven't you?
No.
Why are you winking?
I'm not winking. Thank you, G, for telling that story. And thank you. I know you went over to Perth recently and were kind of like, I've got to
I
do
love it. I
this.
love Perth so much. It is so beautiful.
Yeah.
I think if it wasn't so isolated as a city in terms of like the
It's expensive to get to. It's hard to get to.
Exactly. I bet also. I think so many more people would live there as well. It is stunning. Like I think everyone in Australia would want to live in Perth.
The weather's amazing.
If it wasn't,
the beaches.
Like,
and,
God, it's just beautiful.
But yeah, thank you for telling that story this week, G.
Thank you. Thank you for everyone as well who has suggested that story, because we've had lots of suggestions because it is such an infamous Australian one. And I was inspired when I was at the Claremont Hotel.
Absolutely.
Myself, and I got a taxi home from the Claremont Hotel.
Yeah. Oh, my God. Well, G, thank you. And we're going to go straight to the mailbag
Let's do
section. This comes from Kay. Hi, Sammy and Georgia. I'm a huge fan of your podcast. Love your work. You recently said you'd like to hear from people who have connections to people you've done stories about.
Yeah.
Well, my brother-in-law used to live with Matthew Wales, the society murderer.
I'm. No, I haven't done. Have I done?
You've done the society murder. Yes, you have.
I was like, I've started writing that one.
No,
I've
you've done
this.
it. You've
My
done
God,
it.
My brain.
At every family lunch or dinner, we always end up grilling him about Matthew Wales. With Matthew Wales's non-parole period coming to an end soon, we often speculate if he'll contact my brother-in-law upon his release and what we would do. Also, I live in Morwell and spied Georgia at Coles a few times.
No way.
And have to say how totally stunning you are. Hope you enjoyed your time in town, wink face.
Oh my
Kay.
God, I wish you said something when I was
Isn't that
there.
great?
How embarrassing. There was one time I definitely went in my Ugg boots. So I'm sorry if you saw me there.
No, Ugg boots are so damn cool. And also, how amazing is that? But yeah, you have done the society murder.
Yeah, I have. I was like,
a great
I've started writing. I remember writing that story.
Yeah.
Why haven't I recorded
No,
it?
you absolutely
We
have, yeah.
Sorry.
Abby? Dear Georgia and Sammy, my name is Abby. I'm from Cardiff, Wales.
Oh, wow.
In the UK, and I'm a huge fan of your podcast. I actually lived in Fitzroy, Melbourne in 2022. And so it's nice to hear familiar places' names. CBD Brighton.
CBD, what's that stand for again?
Central Business District.
right.
Though I don't think I've heard Paran being belted out yet in a strong Aussie accent. Pran. I discovered this podcast as George's Everyone Has an Ex is my favourite podcast of all time.
Oh, thank you.
I listen to it all the time and have got my mum hooked on it as well. My favourite episodes are Fight or Flight. The point of no return, the twist at the end is brilliant. Tiny Dancer, I could go on and on. Anyway, this is about Not Another Crime podcast. The wood chipper story is wild. How was Sharon such a temptress? This morning, I've just been binging stories on YouTube whilst doing a jigsaw puzzle and makes me chuckle when you're both trying to pronounce some of the UK town names.
Oh, no, sorry.
Leicester is pronounced Leicester.
Yes.
Greenwich is, and Greenwich
You
as
said
well.
Greenwich, yeah.
Greenwich, yep. I commented
Like
recently.
Elphaba?
Yeah, that's right. I commented recently on Insta when I had a proper belly laugh at the fact Sammy watched a documentary that had no crime in it.
The Winnebago
The Winnebago Man. I recommend it to everybody if you don't want to watch crime. Just wanted to say, love the new podcast, listening to it all the time. Thanks for bringing great stories. The things people do, wild. Miss Melbourne, thanks, Abby. P.S. Can you show Diggs on YouTube, please? Would love to see his cute face.
God.
And absolutely, we're going to show Diggs more on YouTube, but he does, he's always in the background of everything. He's been quieter, quite quiet today.
He's sleeping. Thank you, Abby. That's so great. Thanks for the shout-out from our pod as well.
Absolutely. And we have one more. They'll try and condense this one a little bit. This one comes from Holf. Hi, Sammy and Georgia. I love the pod and all the work you do. Sammy, I've been a big fan of your podcast content content for ages. I first discovered you through a guest appearance and have since followed you. Confessions of the Idiots, Your Two Drunk Aunties, and even the lesser known but equally fantastic Nature or Nurture. Yeah. While it was sad to see Confessions come to an end, this podcast has been a fantastic addition to my list of favourite Australian comedy podcasts. The Australian comedy scene deserves so much more international appreciation, in my opinion. Like many of your listeners, I don't typically have interest in true crime. It often feels exploitative, especially those Spotify ads for Swedish true crime pods, where they put on a voice and try to make everything sound as serious and horrifying as possible. Ooh. Like an intro to a bad student-made horror film. Your podcast, however, feels different. It balances comedic flair with a respectful treatment of serious cases, particularly when discussing victims.
Oh, thank you.
You don't reduce them to hapless figures, but instead honour their hopes, dreams and agency. So hats off to you, or as we say in Sweden, I'm totally going to stuff this up, Holf. En står a lodge till
Oh, thanks, Holf.
Now that I've sung your praises, I'd like to make a request. While the cases you've covered so far have been fascinating, I'd love to hear more about slow violence. For those unfamiliar with the term, it was coined by Rob Nixon in his book Slow Violence and the Environmentalism of the Poor. He defines it as a violence that occurs gradually and out of sight, a violence of delayed destruction dispersed across time and space, and attritional violence that is typically not viewed as violence at all. Oh. Well, to look into that, actually. Yeah. I hadn't heard of that before. Wow. Apologies for... if you or your listeners want to dive deeper... the film Dark Waters. Sorry, I'm going to take that bit out. Apologies for the lengthy message, but I hope it sparks some interest in exploring slow violence on the show. The concept is broad, so there's no shortage of cases to cover. Thanks again for the thoughtfulness and research you bring to each episode and for the much-needed laughs along the way. Wishing you all the best and stay strong in these trying times. Kind regards, Holf. Holf, thank you. Holf, I apologise for cutting your message down a little bit because I was trying to get through it there. But thank you, Holf. That we love hearing from people. And
slow violence, I'm going to look into that. That's a concept I've not really heard of, termed like that.
No, me neither. But thank you for writing in, Sammy, at justanothercompany.com.au. You can leave us a voicemail. We call it a speak pipe. That's the website. The links are in the show notes. Anything else, Jay?
You can follow us on Instagram and TikTok, Not Another Crime Podcast, and please leave us a 5-star rating and a 5-star review.
You can come and see me film my live show at Comedy Republic on the 10th of October. Yes. I'd love to see you there. Tickets at comedyrepublic.com.au.
I'll be in Vietnam then on holiday for my friend's wedding.
That's very exciting for you. Even exciting for me as well.
Is it?
We're doing a live show. Oh, not that you're away.
I was like,
horrible thing to say.
I'm so excited about your live show. I can't believe you're filming it. I can believe it. That's amazing.
I can't believe it. I won't believe it.
I'm so pleased everyone's going to be able to see it.
Oh, it's so exciting.
Whether they can be there or not. It's
Absolutely.
Awesome.
And as always, leave us a 5-star rating.
I already said that.
Oh, you already said that. I'm sorry. Get out of here.
We love you guys. Thank you so much for listening.
Yep.
Please keep sending your suggestions for stories through because, the Claremont one have been suggested many times and I enjoyed in the best way, the only way you can enjoy researching a horrible crime. But I enjoyed bringing this one to you.
Yeah, absolutely. And are you ready for a Paudry peeve?
Oh, yeah, Paudry peeve.
For this week.
Can you tell I need to go to the toilet? So I'm wrapping up.
Yeah, I know you are. But let me do it really quickly. All right?
I'm done with my phone.
I don't know where you put your bloody phone. I don't know where you put your bloody phone.
Just remember what annoys me.
I think mine for this week is people who come into work sick and think they're a goddamn hero.
Yes, okay, yes. But I also... That is an unwinnable situation.
Yeah, that's
true. If you're sick and you stay home, people are like, off sick.
Yeah.
And if you come in, they're like, why are you here? Don't make us sick as well.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, there's no win in that situation.
There's no winning in that situation. I think maybe...
All right, I take mine back.
No. It can peeve you.
It can peeve
me. I find that hard as well.
What about your peeve?
Okay, my Paudry peeve for today is when people are...
You need to go to the toilet. We're not wrapping up a podcast.
Yeah, I do need to go to the toilet. Yeah. No, when you're driving and someone's doing a turn, like going into the intersection, so in Australia doing a right-hand turn.
Yes.
And they don't enter the intersection.
Oh,
so you should drive, you enter the intersection and then wait there.
Yep.
Because that means at least by the time the light goes red,
Yeah.
you still have to turn.
Yes.
It really annoys me
Yeah.
when they don't do that. So
I
one car
know.
gets through every round of lights.
Oh, that's so annoying. Yeah, I hate that too. Thank you to Oliver Clark for doing the theme music. Thank you to Tamsin Hayes for doing the artwork. We'll see you next week, everybody.
Bye.
Beautiful end to the podcast.